Welcome to our podcast, Parenting by the Pint. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, Minivan Mafia. Lauren and I are longtime friends from Chicagoland that love getting together to chat about life, kids, family, and beer.
Each week, we'll feature a brewery and sample at least 2 of their beers.
We'll also discuss a variety of topics ranging from parenting, pop culture, travel, marriage, and just about anything else that comes to mind. Welcome back, everybody. Here we go again, Lauren.
Hi, how's everybody doing tonight?
I am doing all right. I'm ready for a couple of beers, and that is lucky for me because that's what we're going to do.
Yep, I like it.
And we're going to drink Urban Chestnut, which is from St. Louis. And it's funny because you proposed this brewery, you had beers from them, and I immediately recognized them because my brother used to go down to St. Louis every now and then and always brought back Urban Chestnut. And I'm not totally sure why that brewery specifically, but he always, maybe it was close to where his friend lived or something like that.
I don't know, maybe. I don't think I've had much from them, to be honest with you. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, well, something new to me. So why not?
I know I've had like, I want to say it was probably like a Kolscher Märzen. It was like a German, Oktoberfest era time season.
Yeah, they're
beer, but I can't remember what.
Their kind of motto is New World meets Old World Brewing. So like they do have a series of beers that are like classic European Bavarian type.
Oh, sure.
So definite possibility that you picked up something like that. But we're not going to drink any of that right now. We're going to start with a grapefruit radler called Big Shark.
Okay. I don't know that we've ever sampled a radler on the podcast.
I don't know if we have. So,
this is new,
first
guys.
time for everything. And there's a shark in a red suit riding an old bicycle.
Huh.
It's kind of entertaining.
He looks very colonial, maybe?
Definitely. He definitely looks very colonial.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a fleur-de-lis, like the...
Oh, sure. Like
on the bottom.
from like New Orleans,
yeah,
Creole,
pretty
French.
much. So I have no idea how that references anything, but we're going to do
Let's do
this.
it.
So
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Urban Chestnut.
Oh,
pink.
my goodness. It's pink.
I don't know if I've had pink beer. I've had a pink wine.
Pink beer. Like real pink. Like the
like,
head
dude,
is pink.
Real pink. The whole thing is pink, and it smells like grapefruit.
Ooh. Well, I do like grapefruit.
Very much smells like grapefruit.
Oh, yeah.
The
like
aroma
real,
is real pure.
Grapefruit.
Like if you were juicing a grapefruit, that is what this smells like. That's rather tasty.
I actually really like it. I was very concerned because the smell of it was so strong, and I was like, "Is this gonna be like eyes watering, like knock me out,
like
grapefruit,
taking a bite of a grapefruit,
or is it gonna have a little bit of balance?" And it does. It does have balance. It does have a good grapefruit flavor, but it is definitely not nearly as overwhelming.
No, it's not like kick you in the teeth grapefruit. It's got the aroma very grapefruit. I mean, definitely smells grapefruit. But yeah, no, the taste is very good. It's well balanced. It's not overly one way or the other. Sometimes radlers are a little too sweet depending on what they're made with. I feel like sometimes this one's pretty well balanced, I think. It's a good
maybe
refreshing.
Grapefruit is the way to go with a radler.
Yeah, no, I like it. I might be able to get my husband to drink this one.
Yeah?
He'll drink a radler every so often.
That is very exciting.
Yeah, so this is definitely an option since I have a couple more in my fridge. So
that.
This is a possibility. I always like when I can find something a beer that my husband will drink, since he generally does not.
Yeah.
So this is something that we can sit by the pool and drink. And
That's
it's actually
exciting,
a perfect pool, like refreshing flavor to it. So, all right. Anyways, as I continue to drink my grapefruit,
tell me about Urban Chestnut.
So, from St. Louis, like I had said, they're new world meets old world kind of brewing approach, but they make all kinds of things. They make, American craft beers, classic European. They make small batches. They do all kinds of stuff. But they also make great efforts to promote sustainability. They've got water and waste management practices and recycling and composting. They have solar power. They reuse everything that they can. They're an LEED, one of a handful of certified breweries in the U.S., so they comply with a variety of different, eco-friendly, sustainable type requirements. So
Nice.
that's cool. And they also do some fundraising for local charities and organizations and things
Cool.
like that. Recently, they just released a St. Louis Zoo beer, Bier,
Okay.
which is now the official beer of the St. Louis Zoo. And they donate money for every case sold to animal care and conservation.
Nice.
So that's pretty
That's
cool.
awesome.
They're super into animals. They also have a partnership with Purina Dog Food.
Oh.
And they do a fundraiser annually, actually, that they release a new beer, and they call it Raise a Pint for Pets campaign, which supports local animal shelters and things like that. So there's other collaborations they do, but those are two of the things that they've done recently, I guess, to help promote charities and whatnot in the area. Along with the sustainability thing, they also greatly encourage both employees and customers to ride their bikes to their facilities, and they actually have
Sure.
indoor bike racks, so you
Okay.
can bring your bike inside and leave them there. So I mean, cool. But anyway, so that's a little bit about them.
Nice.
It's owned, or it was founded by Florian and David were their names. It was started in 2011.
Okay.
So it's been around for a bit now, more than a decade. David was a St. Louis, or is a St. Louis native, who worked in various capacities in the beverage industry for a while. But the last place he was at was in sales and marketing for Anheuser-Busch.
What a shock.
Yeah, I know. Shocking.
In St. Louis.
Right. Yeah.
When you were like, he's
Yeah.
a St. Louis native in the beverage industry. I was like, I have a
Yep.
feeling I know where this is going.
At some point, he worked for AB. Yeah. Florian actually is from Germany.
Oh.
So he's from southern Germany. He started as a brewer's apprentice at 17 years old.
Nice.
He attended the University of Munich at Weihenstephaner, or
Weinstefaner?
Weihenstephaner. I can't pronounce this. Here,
You
I'm gonna
did
put it.
great. You did great.
Yeah. So anyways, he which is one of the oldest brewing schools in the world. So the actual university.
yeah.
So that's where he learned to brew beer, was in Germany, Bavaria, etc. So then he came here and eventually worked at Anheuser-Busch, which is where they met.
Sure. Also a surprise.
Yeah, so they wound up meeting on various projects there, working together, and decided that they wanted to go out on their own and open their own brewery. So 2011, that's how we got Urban Chestnut. So I really like that their logo is a little squirrel.
I like that too.
That they have on all of their cans, which is entertaining. But they have 3 locations. So they've got 2 locations in St. Louis. One is the Grove Beer Hall, and one is the Midtown Beer Garden. But what's interesting, I thought, was that they also have a 3rd brewery in southern Germany, where Florian's where Florian's hometown was.
Well, that's very interesting.
So they both import and export beer from there. So that's actually
Nice.
pretty convenient that they have a location there
Yeah.
to share some of their beers. They brew beer there as well. So they can
Nice.
export some of that to here, import some of the stuff that they make here there, and share a variety of beer around the world, and amongst
That's awesome.
their own locations. So so I thought that was something unique about Urban Chestnut.
Yeah.
So
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I knew about St. Louis. I didn't know all this other stuff.
yeah, so
That's
kinda
really cool.
Yeah, so that's really all I got about Urban Chestnut. I'm gonna go back to drinking my grapefruit.
Yeah, I'm gonna sample more of this Radler as well, and we're gonna talk about sportsmanship, what that means, and what being a good sport is about, and being something I can also relate to, a bad sport. And that's how I'll begin. I'm gonna start out by telling you guys about my feelings on growing up and my level of competitiveness and sportsmanship. And I was competitive.
Okay.
I don't think that I was a bad sport necessarily, but I was very competitive. I got that. I want to say I got that from my mother's family. We used to play card games together a lot, and all of them were bad sports.
You can't play Monopoly. It's not allowed.
Oh, no. And my husband, I don't even think to this day would play sorry with me if I asked, even if I promised to be nice.
Because he doesn't believe you.
No. Yeah. Well, and I'm going to tell you something that you should know. You're not sorry when you say sorry in sorry. It is the reality of the game. They're not actually sorry. When you say sorry to someone, you don't mean
You're not actually sorry. Yeah, no, you're right.
So I don't know if it's more his problem or my problem with
Maybe
that
it's just
specific
the
game.
game's problem. Yeah.
But there is a problem there.
Got it.
I like to think that I've gotten better.
Okay.
I don't worry really pretty much at all about like board games that we'll play, about winning or losing, or I don't really, and even as a spectator, when it comes to like watching my kids play sports or do competitive activities, I don't seem to feel, mad when they lose and gloat when they win or anything like that. As a spectator, as their parent.
I've been around parents that are bad sports.
Yes, and I've seen that as well. I've seen ones who are the coach for the team be that person. I've had we have had coaches,
bad coaches
that are bad sports.
Yes, we definitely did when we were children.
Yeah, yes, softball.
Yes, 100%.
But yeah, I do think that I have improved in that way. The only thing, I wouldn't say I'm a bad sport. I do really enjoy watching football, and I am a Packers fan. I do notice that when the team loses, because we live in Bears country, that sometimes people kind of come out of the woodwork to gloat about the Packers losing
because the Bears don't win.
Game.
So yeah, they have to.
I have developed the attitude that that's just adorable because they have to enjoy something.
Yes.
So they enjoy other people's pain and loss.
No, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not.
But I used to kind of take it a little hard when I would see, the team I cheered for lose, and to have a bunch of people that I know
cheering
who
for
never
the fact
said
that they
a
lost.
word about football before that day gloat about the team I was cheering for losing.
Okay.
And so that used to give me a bit of a twinge. Now, I will be sad if my team loses, but I don't really
let it really get to you.
Have a big hang up about it. And I certainly don't go and confront other fans for other teams about it.
No, not worth it. Definitely not worth the effort on that. Yeah. I have very little care for professional. Like, I enjoy watching professional sports, but I don't have any that I am that invested in that I really feel one way or the other for. So, which works out fine. I will say that I have had plenty of experiences lately with poor sports of parents being poor sports. More so, we'll go into later poor sports as in my children's experiences, but there's been a variety of maybe not even my kids' games, but when I've attended friends' kids' various sports events or whatnot, like there are some adults who are very poor sports or insisting on calls are wrong when they're clearly correct or just making up kind of ridiculous things. My son and my husband actually went to a college, I think it was college, maybe high school. Anyways, some sort of upper level above youth sports lacrosse game not too long ago.
Okay.
And there was an adult that got into an argument with my 9-year-olds about a play that my 9-year-old, according to my husband, was clearly correct in how it went down on the field. And this adult was literally yelling at him.
That's crazy.
And my husband was like, this is ridiculous. Like, you are a grown woman yelling at a 9-year-old boy about like a college lacrosse game.
Yeah, that's
like,
not.
Come on now.
I don't know. That's not gonna.
People are crazy. I don't get it. But yeah, you can all get along. It's okay. It's just sports. Like, it's not.
Yeah. Well, especially, I think this is a great angle to take, where as the parents of the athletes, that you do have a different perspective, and I do think that means that you should act like an adult.
Right?
And set a good example.
Yes, especially at youth sporting events. So, like,
Yes.
we had a lacrosse tournament last weekend, like 2 days ago. Not tournament, the playoffs. And we played a few games. And I will say there's been some games that the parents have literally complained. We got parents complained to the league about our team for, like, playing music or for, like, nothing valid, like nothing, but then their team mess with the clock, like the clocks were wrong. There were a bunch of things that they just did wrong, and they complained about us, like, and they lost anyways, but they were being incredibly poor sports. But then we played another team, the last game we played, and the other team's some of their parents wound up sitting next to us because there was nowhere to go. They were incredibly pleasant. Like, everybody cheered for everybody. Like, it was like, great
That's
save,
great.
Goalie. Like, good job. One of their team members scored a goal, and it was his first goal that he had ever scored.
Oh, wow.
And they were like cheering so loudly. They're like, we're sorry. Like, this is the first goal he's ever scored, blah, blah. And we're like, that's awesome. Like, and everybody got along. It was incredibly pleasant. Like, we said goodbye to each other as we walked out of the parking lot. It was a much better experience than arguing as parents of spectators watching the games. Like, there's no need for that. But the second game, the last game, we were like, everybody was great. Like, it was,
that is really good.
It was incredibly pleasant.
We've had some of that, more of that, and less like competitive parents in my son's soccer league this year.
Yeah.
We actually had a very similar experience where we sat next to parents of like the goalie for the other team.
Sure.
And he was struggling. My son's team has some superstars on it, I'm afraid. I don't know how they split up the teams this year, but it's a little off balance. And we're just happen to be the beneficiaries of that, which isn't usually the case. My youngest has been on teams that have lost every game an entire season. So I think he kind of deserves this one.
Have the winning one this time.
Yeah, he kind of needed a win.
I get
and
it.
he got it.
Awesome.
He's got some great teammates, which challenges him.
Which is great. When you play with better kids, you actually become better. So,
and he is getting better, and they're winning, and they're having fun. Yeah. And even though they're like winning somewhat decisively, nobody's getting destroyed out there. Even this kid who was goalie had some nice saves.
Yeah.
And it was nice to chat with his parents, and everyone was very nice. Including the parents on my son's team who could have, I guess, been gloating about winning, you know?
Yeah.
But everybody seems pretty good, which has been nice.
That's really nice. We've definitely been on both ends of the spectrum with that. And we're loud. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of us are very loud in general. But this other mom that sat next to us, she literally sat down and she's like, I apologize now. I'm the loud mom. And I was like, that's okay. Like, you're cheering for your kids. Of that. Yeah. Like, we get it. It's totally fine. We're not expecting you to sit on the sidelines and be silent. But that's such a more enjoyable situation than some of the other times that we've had people who are poor sports, whether that be the adults or the kids. And it's just, you walk away with a bad taste in your mouth.
And I think it's almost, I would say my worst experience would be that I've witnessed parents who are being very critical and negative of their child.
Own children. We've definitely seen that too.
And I know that's not exactly being a bad sport, but I really bothers me because I feel like this kid gets to ride home with this person and they get to continue their rant with whatever criticisms they have, that gets to just carry on. Whereas I get to get away from this guy in 20 more minutes.
You feel bad for their kid.
Yeah. But they have to be subjected to that over a recreational soccer game.
Right. It is kind of crazy to me, the amount of just extremism that happens in youth sports these days. Like, we had last season, not our team, but we had parents kicked out of games for being unsportsmanlike. We had a coach kicked out of a game for unsportsmanlike conduct.
Jeez.
I think there was a kid that also got kicked out. One of actually the coaches for our organization above my son is no longer allowed in the organization because of such unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's crazy.
And they're all under high school age. Like, none of these kids are above 8th grade.
That's crazy.
So it's nuts to me. Like, it's just crazy to me. Now, I will say one of the worst experiences of late that we've had with poor sportsmanship is kids on my son's own team to each other.
Oh.
Not even to other teams. So there are a couple of kids that are probably bullies, but the apple doesn't fall far from the tree type situation that have literally been unsportsmanlike to their own teammates, telling them that they suck, that they need to get better, that they're the reason they're losing, like just in general. And there's one that said that about my son, actually, and then there was two that just say bad things about each other back and forth. And it just creates an incredibly negative situation, because then even at practices, they're like, they can't be put together. They're like, they're separate. And honestly, they would play on a line together if they could get along and be very good at like playing together.
Yeah.
But instead, on the sidelines, they literally, I don't know where it started. I don't know why.
That's terrible.
Neither of them are either the best kid or the worst kid. They're both pretty good, but neither of them is amazing.
Right.
So I don't know why or where it started. But recently, I'm thankful that season is over. We've had that, and it's really disheartening, because it's like, you'd think at least if you play a team that's poor sports, fine, you walk away, you don't have to play them again until, maybe
right. But when they're on
later.
your team.
But when they're on your actual team and you're practicing with them 3 days a week and then playing games with them, you can't escape that.
Yeah.
So that's something that has been frustrating for me this year, and for my husband, because he's one of the coaches, and one of them is one of the coach's kids. So, which makes it doubly worse. But it's been interesting, and I think that at their age, because they're 9 and 10 mostly, like, they don't see the big picture, in that being a poor sport is just making it worse. Like, there's no there's never a benefit to being a poor sport.
No.
It's not helping you. It's not helping the people around you. It's definitely not helping your team.
No, I was going to say, it's not like your teammates benefit from it. It's not like you get enjoyment out of it, or anybody does.
And that's the interesting thing about, like, sometimes you've got a vice and there's a positive to you or something, but being a poor sport, like, it's just, you have a negative attitude, and it just brings everybody around you down. Like, I really truly don't see any positives coming from those scenarios.
No.
So, and it's fine if you're critical of, like, another player in a way that can help them improve. That's not being a poor sport.
Right.
But just saying you suck, like,
I know,
you're why we're losing, that's not helping anyone do better at anything.
No.
So, I don't know, it's been interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I will say I have a bad sport. My oldest is a bit of a bad sport.
Oh, really?
He's not an athlete, not a big athlete. He does do karate.
Yeah.
We have had a little bit of that come up with karate, because he has started doing tournaments.
Okay.
His very first tournament, which was definitely supposed to be a learning experience for him, he was very upset that he did not win the entire thing, which apparently I think is what he thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
And really, like, you couldn't talk about it. You couldn't. My parents, like, asked him how it went, and we were just like, no, don't bring that up. He's just gonna get mad, and he did, because of course they didn't know.
Right. Well,
they weren't supposed to bring it up.
Which I would think that makes sense. Grandparents want to ask them about their activities. So it happens with board games as well. It's kind of a little bit of a competitiveness that just follows him everywhere with some stuff. I wish he felt that way about school. It's in the things
Why
that
is it
don't
not
matter.
from an academic standpoint that he's really competitive? I don't know. He does not need to be the best student in the class, but he would like to be the fastest. So I don't fully understand why that's not a carryover, because when I talk about myself being competitive, I wouldn't say that I wanted to be the best in the class, but I did want to get A's. I wanted to be the best of myself. Yeah. And I knew I could get an A, so I was going to do what I needed to do to get an A in all of my classes. And so While I wasn't necessarily trying to get better grades than like you or anybody
Sure, you're
else
not
that was our
comparing
classmate,
yourself, yep.
I did feel competitive about that.
Okay.
When we play board games with my oldest, he will get very upset if we play a competitive game and somebody else wins, or if he's just not doing well over some period in the game.
Okay.
And I usually like to respond by teasing him because, it's my job as his mother as a parent in general, I believe, to kind of make it a little bit worse.
Fair. Yeah.
So I do a little bit of that, which never helps.
No,
never.
No,
not
true.
even one time. But I will say that it kind of brings up the subject of me having a hard time helping him overcome this issue.
Okay.
Because
that's fair, yeah.
I think in my head, I'm making light of a situation that's not important. Losing a board game, it's fine. It's really not a big
really
deal.
not
And I'm making light of it, and he doesn't see it that
not
way. He's
seeing
just
it that
upset.
way, yeah.
And so, I think that honestly, the only way that you kind of move beyond this sort of behavior and attitude is to just have some loss.
Yeah.
To lose a couple
To
times.
get used to it, yeah.
And to kind of get used to that. Yeah, he did, has tried out for things over the years. And, I talked about the school play a few years ago, but where he hasn't necessarily gotten what he wanted out of things or hasn't made a team or something like that, that has happened once actually since middle school. And it was a kind of a long shot anyway, because I think they only had an 8th grade team that my son, who was a 6th grader, was trying out for.
Oh, well,
yeah. But the act of not making it was an experience that I was very curious to see how he was going to handle. I was worried,
Sure, yeah.
but I was very curious to see how it was going to play out. And he did pretty well.
That's good.
So I do think that over time he has begun to make that adjustment.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because I certainly wasn't doing that at 11.
Yeah, that's fair.
Almost 12. But, I was already dating my husband when I was still
Actually
a bad
getting
sport.
to that point.
Yeah, so I was a little bit older than he is now.
I do think you're right, though. If your children or if anyone is really good at something and they don't fail often, failing is really hard.
Yeah.
So, you have to learn failure at some point, and that really helps anyone get used to seeing both sides of the winning and the losing, and that it's okay to lose. When my son's lacrosse team started out the season, they were undefeated for a while. They actually lost only one game all season outside of the playoffs.
Okay.
So, but they played a couple tournaments that were not part of their season, and they lost a couple games. And I think that, and then they played some scrimmage games that didn't count.
Right.
And my husband actually suggested it at one point because they had won every single game that they were playing against. And so he put them up against a team that was better than them.
Yeah.
And they lost by a lot. But they walked into it thinking, oh, we got this.
Right.
But they didn't got this.
Nope.
But it's a good wake-up call to be like, hey, there's a lot of people that are better than you at this.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And you can continue working to get better.
Right.
But it's okay to lose.
Yeah.
And you're going to lose. You're not going to win every game. You're not going to win every board game. You're not going to be the best at whatever you do in school. You're likely there's going to be somebody better than you most of the time.
Yeah.
Once in a while you might be the best at stuff, but that's not going to be forever, and that's never going to last.
If I was granted one of my wishes,
that's true.
then I would immediately be good at everything I learned how to do, and then I think that I might be the best at something.
Okay.
Maybe.
That is fair, but in the real
until
world,
the wishes come true,
that
here we are.
generally is not the way it works. I will say that my daughter doesn't have a poor sport bone in her body. She could lose every board game that she ever plays. She
just
get
wants to have fun.
Yeah, she got a narrator role for the musical she was in, and she was like, all right, cool. Didn't care. Doesn't. She just goes with the punches and really doesn't make a difference to her.
My 9-year-old is like that. I won't say that he totally rolls with it all the time, but he definitely does not. He definitely does not gloat about success or get down about loss. And he definitely isn't the kid like kicking the grass or screaming at other
some of the
kids or
kids
yelling
are, like,
at
breaking stuff and throwing things, and they're like, calm.
Certainly not. He is not like that at all. He doesn't trash talk or complain about losing on the season where his team lost every game.
Yeah.
I think he brought it up once. He was like, "Man, we don't really win, do we?"
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, "No,
Yeah,
buddy.
no, sorry.
But you're good." And he goes, "Yeah."
Thanks, Mom.
And that was And then we got in the car and had candy on the ride home, and that was the end of the conversation about losing every single game.
Yeah, no, but that's. I mean, you don't want to lose every game, but you also don't want to make it get you down too much. My son, when they lose things or when he loses things, it depends. Like, he definitely gets bummed when they lose games, partially because he's the goalie and he feels like it's on him.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Like, but like by the time we're home, he's over it. Like, it's pretty quick to what he just moves on. Board games, I feel like he's a little bit more competitive, but still not like overly. And like video games, he could care less if he loses. He's like, I got 16th place. I'm like, good job. Like,
is that bad or good? Or out of 100?
A positive or a negative? I don't really know, but I'm
usually
just
ask
like,
if it's out of 100.
Yeah,
that's a safe bet.
That's fair. Well, I'm just like, oh, that's awesome. Like, but that thing, like, some of his friends are incredibly competitive about video games.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really care. Like, he'll play them if everybody else is playing them, but it's not his first choice. Like, he had a sleepover with some of his friends for his birthday, and they all wanted to play video games, and he was like, can we go outside? Can we, like, do something else? Like, he literally afterwards was like, I don't like that all my friends want to do is play video games. Like, I don't really care. And they're all super competitive about it, and he's not. So I think that when you are around people that are really competitive about anything, and you're just kind of the one that goes with the flow, it's a little bit of it doesn't mesh as well.
Yeah. Well, and I will say my youngest, while he is not a bad sport exactly, he does not respond super well to people being a bad sport. Like, he'll play video games. He likes playing video games a lot, but he doesn't seem to really take them all that seriously. And there have been occasions where, like, he goes to the kid's house around the corner and they'll play video games together for a while, and at some point he'll come home and I'll be like, hey, dude, you're home a little earlier than I told you needed to be home. What's up with that? There's usually a reason.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, oh, he was being really mean to me.
Oh.
And we get to the bottom of it, and it's sort of a bad sports situation. That something bad happened in the game that they were playing together, and this kid maybe blamed Abraham for it.
You shot me in the back. Or whatever.
Yeah,
Some
or you where you didn't. Yeah, why didn't you heal me, or why weren't you there to help me, or why didn't And as a result, he got upset and he would leave, and so he has done that, although I have heard his older brother directly yell in his face about video games, and him just be like, I'm not going to play this game with you anymore. And it is like the most adult reaction.
That's the best response ever. Like,
and I'm very pleased at his ability to handle the situation that way in times. That's really good. The only time I've ever seen him be a bit of a bad sport is he got into the challenge program. And he maybe bragged about it at school a little bit. And I'm not 100% sure that happened. He just made some comments to me at one point that some of the kids weren't being very nice to him lately. And
it could have been a result of something. It
came in the same conversation as talking about the challenge program. And I feel like it's possible that there was a little of that going on. But I also don't know that it wasn't just a moment where he was like, oh, well, I'm moving schools at the end of the year for the challenge program. And the other kid wasn't like mean about it. You know, I don't, it's I can't say I wasn't there.
Confirm.
So it could be anything. I mean, he could have been gloating or they just could have been being mean to him. It's all possible.
Yeah. No, that's totally fair. My kids don't generally brag a ton. I don't really think they brag about much. My son actually got into their challenge program, and his godfather took him out for his birthday. Instead of like buying him something, they like went out for an activity.
Nice.
And we were talking afterwards, me and his godfather, and I was like, oh yeah, he's, my son's going to a different school next year. And his godfather was like, he was very diplomatic about it. He didn't actually say it was like a gifted program. He just said, oh yeah, I'm going to this other school for this different program next year. And that was like it.
That's so
like,
funny.
He didn't actually
That
say
is very
like
diplomatic. That's very
what it was for or why
Yeah.
or any details or any of that stuff. It was just like, I'm going to a different school next year. Like,
just very
there's
matter
a
of
program
fact.
that I'm in. That's it. Like,
That's great. That's
yeah,
good.
which is fine and good and totally fine. But it's just, yeah, I don't really hear them brag about much, which I'd be fine if they're excelling at something to be proud of it.
Well, and I think that was, if my son was doing that, I think that it really was probably centered around him being excited or proud.
I totally get that, especially at that age. Like,
when we talked about it, when I was like, well, if you talk too much about going to this school, I think other kids are going to get jealous or mad at you. And he looked at me like he was confused initially. He was like, well, I don't know. What do you mean? Like, I'm just really excited. And I explained, yes, I understand.
Sure. Yeah.
But you are doing something that they're not able to do.
Yeah.
And
they might feel left out or jealous.
You can see
or
how
who
they
knows.
would feel jealous about
Yeah,
that thing.
totally get that. But sometimes that's hard context to understand
It is.
at 9.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I will say in my closing statement that I sometimes am a bad sport, not about winning or losing, but about not wanting to do things. Like, I do not enjoy a lot of games.
Okay.
Like, I don't like games of chance.
Oh, okay.
I just don't.
Like Yahtzee?
Yeah.
For example?
Yes.
Okay.
Left, right, center. Hate that game so much. Like, things that just have no... Like, I love Trivial Pursuit, and I love games that you have to think, or have categories, or like
sure.
those kind of things. But I don't like games that are just pure chance.
Okay.
And I'm a poor sport because I just won't play them. Like at Christmas, they'll be like, we're going to all play left, right, center. And I'm like, have fun. I'm not playing. Like, I just don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm not subjecting myself to
My
that.
kids like this game. It's called One Night Ultimate Werewolf. And everybody has a role.
Okay.
And the problem is that there's some degree of chance because in the process of playing the game, you first find out what your role is, and then at some point your role may change without your knowledge. But you have to like operate with the understanding that you're still the same role.
Sure.
the
Without knowing that
werewolf
it's
or a
changed,
hunter or some other character in the game.
Okay.
You have to kind of assume that you're the same thing, but there is a chance that you are not. And I find that frustrating because no matter how much you and I might talk about whether or not you're the werewolf, you might be, and you might not know you are. And so I get a little, I do not enjoy that game very much because it's not just strategy where I'm trying to throw you off my trail.
It's strategy and
there's
chance.
luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe I just don't get it.
Yeah, no.
I just don't get it.
Yeah,
Like,
games of chance are just not my jam. And my husband knows this, and generally
Yeah.
speaking, most people do, but my mother gets frustrated because I refuse to play certain games. And I am better about it now with the children. Like, if they
Sure.
really want to play something, I will generally sit and play with them. But overall, I am not a fan.
Yeah.
So I'm a party pooper at times when I
It's
play with
okay.
them.
You are upfront about it. I think that's okay. You're pretty, and it's like one thing. You won't do this one thing.
it's not the end
and
of the
I don't
world.
think that's that bad.
I don't think so, but
Let's drink this porter.
Winter Black Lager. It says that it's black as a cool winter's night.
Bring it on.
Let's give it a try. Go from Radler to Porter. It's a pretty big jump.
I agree.
All right. Is it as black? No, it's not black.
I was going to say, that is the lightest black beer I have ever
The
seen in my life.
appearance is not accurate.
It
so.
is like a caramel color.
Yes.
If I were to describe it to people, I would say it's caramel
Black
color.
as a cool winter's night. It's definitely not
And
black.
it's also not black as a cool winter's night.
No.
I've seen a cool winter's night, and it's pretty. It's
like
pretty
a dark
black.
caramel.
Yeah,
Okay, let's give it a try. It smells roasty.
it does smell roasty.
little sweet.
Malty.
Malty, not overly sweet though.
No. I like it. This is very, in my opinion, like stereotypical German lager.
Yes.
When you like think of a German lager, this is kind
Similar
of what
in flavor. Very malty
flags
to
your
me.
brain.
Roasted, malty, a little bit of sweet. Though it looks caramel, it's almost like a dark chocolate tart sweet, more so than a. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but let's look. But that's what I get from it.
Yeah.
Is that kind of not bitter, but almost like right on that line
Well,
with
and
that
maybe
malty
that's
and
what
roasty.
makes it more of this a porter, flavor.
Yeah, German style porter is what it is. Which
because when I read
can
that on the
see
can,
it.
I was like, German style porter, that's interesting. I don't know if I've ever had a German
or how
style
in my
porter.
head that would actually translate
Yeah.
into what
And
does this taste like.
Now I can
Now
tell
that
you
I taste it,
this
I
is
can
it.
be like, oh, okay.
It's this.
It's actually a little light for a porter, but it's malty, roasty, little dark chocolate, little bit of sweet, like still just it's not black, but
But otherwise, I feel good about it. Other than the fact that I was misled by the can and the color
it's
of
got
the
a good
beer.
flavor to it. It's a very good
I really like it.
German
Yes.
style beer.
Yeah.
Like it's a solid taste. I actually like both of these. They're vastly different.
Yeah.
But they both have really good balanced flavors to them in my opinion.
Yeah,
So I think
definitely.
they're both pretty tasty.
Yeah.
I like them. Good job,
All
Urban
right.
Chestnut.
Yeah. Thank you, Urban Chestnut. Thank you, Lauren, for bringing them to us.
Yeah.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to the latest musings from Parenting by the Pint.
Be sure to find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to us wherever you find your podcasts.
Have a great week and cheers to you all.